Yes, sir. Not too long ago, I made a video about who could hold black women accountable, and that video is so necessary. It involved Speak for Yourself hosts Emmanuel Acho and Marcellus Wiley, and they were the only hosts, the only anchors in mainstream media on sports networks that were basically speaking about Sha'Carri Richardson the way that she needed to be covered. They were holding her accountable for her foolish actions. Let it have been a black male athlete that smoked his way out of the Olympics. He would be hearing about it left and right, rightfully so. But just because it's a so-called black woman, the queen, the quote-unquote goddess, she's untouchable from being criticized. And we don't understand that's a problem. We have these simps, these beta males, Clinton Yates, that wants to enable the bad behavior, that wants to jump on other brothers just because they so happen to be black. They can't criticize any black female. You're coming down too hard on them. What's wrong with you? You crying for attention. Not understanding they created the monster known as Sha'Carri Richardson that became the villain quicker than she became the hero. And they have nobody to blame but four-letter networks like ESPN, super liberal lunatics like Clinton Yates, Ryan Clark, Bomani Jones, Kendrick Perkins. The list goes on for all of the fools that enable bad behavior, for all of the fools that get on TV and want to bash a black man for the things that he does, for the things that he stands for. But on the flip side, you say nothing for foolish actions, for foolish behavior and remarks of any female athlete. But for this segment right here, it's Sha'Carri Richardson, mainly black female athletes. And then we wonder why the actions, the remarks, the bougie bullshit trickles down to the generation and the masses. And then the cycle of bullshit continues. Not to digress, when you have simps that work for these networks, they're going to be simping. They're going to be enabling the stupidness and the fuckery that's going to trickle down to the general population. And then we got to deal with this nonsense because we can't criticize females. We want to hear about equality and all this bullshit, but the coverage is not equal at all. You hear what I'm saying? You had Emmanuel Acho, who's basically going to get backlash again from these simps that work at ESPN, and they want to look like beta males having Twitter beef on Twitter, bro, for everybody to see. How the hell are black men calling themselves men, but you're arguing over who is criticizing over somebody that needs to be criticized? Because look at the monster that you created today. You can't tell her nothing. That's the bullshit brothers got to deal with now. Why do you think so many people are gravitating towards a channel like a Kevin Samuels? Because he is holding no punches when it comes to telling these women the truth, because they're delusional, because they have simps like Clinton Yates and Ryan Clark telling them, don't worry about what they're saying about you. They're wrong. They're just jealous of the attention that you're getting. We're talking about somebody that had a great time in a qualifier, and then we don't understand how the beast was created. It's because you have simps that work in these sports networks that don't hold these individuals accountable. Let's check out this article. ESPN FS1 hosts have Twitter beef over Sha'Carri Richardson. It started with Acho tweeting a shot at Richardson for her last place finish in the 100 meters at the event. Yates quickly fired back. Add Sha'Carri Richardson to the list of athletes that force people into their feelings. The American sprinter first grabbed headlines for losing her spot on the U.S. Olympic team after testing positive for marijuana use. Over the weekend, she competed in the Prefontaine Classic and delivered two disappointing performances. That set off a war of words on Twitter that included Emmanuel Acho and Marcellus Wiley of FS1 and Clinton Yates and Ryan Clark of ESPN. Of course, the super liberal network that has to bow down to the feminine goddesses. Of course. It started with Acho tweeting a shot at Richardson for her last place finish in the 100 meters at the event. Yates quickly fired back. He goes, you can't call for attention then hang up. That's what Emmanuel Acho says. Yates goes, you do it every day. And what's so funny is that Clinton Yates recently changed his handle. I forgot what his Twitter handle was before this, man. Damn. It was like Reading Rain Bro. That's exactly what it was. Reading Rain Bro. Acho was not done needling Sha'Carri Richardson and her fans, though, tweeting essentially the same thing for a second time. This time, Acho caught the attention of Ryan Clark, who fired back, doubling down on his hate for it. It's Carrie, huh? Not sure what she did to you, but dang, I hope you bring her in for some of those comfortable-ass conversations you have. Those folks seem to get a ton of more grace from you. Just seems odd. You go at this young sister so often. And then Emmanuel responds, you can't tell people they gotta see me in a race and then be behind them the whole time. They literally can't see you. Let's be honest. She talking about they gotta see her in a qualifier. Come see me. Talking all that. You got the hype. You smoke your way out of the Olympics. They're still talking about you more than the people that competed in the Olympics. We gotta understand why. It's because they want to promote this ratchetness, this dysfunction. That's what you see in the mainstream media. That's what you hear on the music. Not to digress, but Ryan Clark, we understand that you went to LSU. Sha'Carri went to LSU. You don't have to be a big simp for everybody that's an alma mater. You got to hold people accountable, Ryan Clark. That's the problem with ESPN, bro. That's why nobody is really watching them. Emmanuel Acho is specifically doing his job. He's criticizing comments that came out of her mouth. How are you going to talk shit and then come in last? You didn't even perform in the Olympics, so you should have been ready. So you're just a big disappointment left and right. But you have nobody to blame but chief enablers, beta males, and all of these simps across the nation that are not holding individuals accountable when they screw up. This is where it escalated. Acho explained his position in multiple tweets. In one, he took exception to Yates saying that Acho has a history of disrespecting black women in sports. Elaine Thompson is black. Shelly Ann is black. I have sang their praises from the mountaintops. I will continue to. Just because they're not your flavor of quote-unquote black doesn't mean they're not black. I'm not dissing black women. I'm checking unmerited arrogance. Thanks. So he's basically saying that Clinton Yates is just basically not into women of the Caribbean islands, or he's not into any other woman that is not a quote-unquote black American woman. Here we go, yo. It just becomes like some high school bullshit between grown males for everybody to see, because one party is holding the individual accountable and then you have the other party saying, back off, you're being too hard on her. What did she do to you? That's not sports. That's not journalism, man. You constantly dissing black woman on Maine. Ain't funny at all. That's what Clinton Yates says, man. You're a clown. He also tried to explain to Clark why he was being so hard on Richardson. Let's see what he says. He says, look, big bro, if you're going to be loud with it, you got to be able to take the heat. I know she's your LSU sister, but if you're going to talk crazy to the second and third fastest woman all time, you better be ready on race day. Of course. How are people going to talk shit and then when it comes time for the moment to shine, you don't show up at all? People are basically going to be rooting for you to fail from now on, and she doesn't get it. She's digging a big hole. Like, I've never seen a rise in the limelight and then a rise to the shadows. You know what I'm saying? It just sucked that her story is going to end terribly because people around her are not keeping it real with her. Just like people are around that dime piece, they don't keep it real with her just because she looks good. So you say yes just because you want some of that ass. Meanwhile, when she's getting older and she's not hearing those yeses, she's hearing more no's. More people are dubbing her, ghosting her, not responding to text messages. She feels like everybody else is the problem. You get me? Not content to sit on the sidelines and let his speak for yourself co-star speak for himself, Marcellus Wiley entered the fray with his sights set firmly on Clark. Of course, Clark wasn't going to sit by and not defend himself, so that started a thread between those two. PSA, when your people keep it race, then keep it real. You will end up in last place. It's Carrie. Better learn fast that if she has friends like real Clark, Ryan Clark, she won't need enemies. No yes men, no enablers. Message. Yo, not for nothing, man. Once Marcellus Wiley left Sports Nation, it was a dub. It was slowly going to be a dub for ESPN. He was on Sports Nation with that dude, LZ Granderson and Jacoby and Max Kellerman here and there. So and who else was on there? Carrie Champion. Like once Marcellus Wiley left to go to Fox Sports Network, I'm like, yo, everybody is leaving this network for a reason. And now we all understand why. We see the agenda that they pushing. We see which way that they're swinging. So Ryan Clark responds, Marcellus, I don't address you because you're always on brand. She is not my friend. I don't know her. She is a young black woman who is dealing very publicly. Emmanuel Acho has built a brand in being a black man with a public forum of grace extended to white people as his friend. Then here goes Marcellus Wiley. He goes to play a clip of Ryan Clark saying some nonsense about Antonio Brown, I guess, basically pocket watching him, basically saying that they shouldn't have paid Antonio because they're going to create a beast. It's funny that he could speak that way about Antonio Brown, saying you shouldn't pay him the max or whatever, give him the contract that he was seeking because you're going to create a monster in the locker room, right? It's funny that he's not taking that same attitude to the mainstream media, to his network, and holding Sha'Carri accountable for smoking her way out the Olympics, for talking all the shit and she can't back up, for not performing in the Olympics. Then there's a competition not too long after, and you're not even prepared for that. But he responds with this: you a real life clown, Marcellus. To simply my tweet to Emmanuel Acho to one race and short-sighted, much deeper context. But when I see the profile of those who truly support you, I realize you got what you want and who you want behind you. That ain't a love I dance for. Basically saying he's trying to make his Caucasian fans happy with the rhetoric that he's going to throw on the Twitter beef. Trying to throw shade at Marcellus, trying to say he's trying to please his Caucasian fans and whatnot. But if you look at Ryan Clark's bosses, producers, executives, none of them are pro-black. None of them have quote-unquote melanin in their skin. So please, miss me with the bullshit, Ryan Clark. This all started because this is a so-called black woman, and you guys are portraying the simps, the knights in shining armor, I guess, as you are trying to protect her from the rightful backlash that she deserves. You guys are the simps, the yes men that will not make her be a better individual. And then you want to throw shade. You want to throw the shaming tactics. I don't know what Carrie did to you, bro, but I hope you bring her on one of your shows or something like that. That's something that these goofy ass dudes will say something to a dude that's standing firm on his principle. When you want to call a woman out on her bullshit, you're going to have a simp come from left field and try to throw these tactics at you as if you're wrong for stating your opinion, as if you're wrong for criticism, constructive criticism at that. You have these simpletons that have no backbones. They're only doing this for a check. Black girl magic. Remember that. Black girls are queens. You can't tell them anything. With friends like Ryan Clark, you're not going to need any enemies in this world. And I ask again, who can hold a black woman accountable? The answer is everybody around her that actually cares. Because if you actually care, you're going to tell her about herself. People are scared to tell the truth nowadays because you're scared of hurting somebody's feelings. They always say that the truth hurts because people don't really want to hear the truth. They want to hear comfortable lies. And that's a problem with the society because you're just going to be an enabler to a bigger problem. And look at the monster you created, that being Sha'Carri Richardson. This all started because you guys don't like the way that these guys were quote-unquote attacking Sha'Carri just because she is a young black woman and she's dealing publicly. But you guys don't have that same energy for brothers that are going through worse or going through the same type of bullshit. So miss me with that. The same brothers that are pro-black, Black Lives Matter and all that bullshit talking about equality, they want to throw the cape on. When dudes are giving criticism, you want to try to basically insinuate that they're quote-unquote Uncle Toms or they're cooning for their network. Meanwhile, they're really just keeping it real. But it's enough of that, though. Y'all let me know. I'm out.